up, guys? How y'all doing today? Well, baby, if you are Sean Diddy Combs, the prosecution has just given new information to the judge that can guarantee you're going to be up to jail for up to 8 years. You guys, what am I talking about, okay? Remember how Jeff Samaranian was like, listen, I'm sick of y'all. Listen, by the 3rd, I want a list of cases showing what the average is. Again, I don't want persuasive case law because I don't trust either of you. I'll read it myself. I got some of the best clerks in the business, law clerks in the business. I don't need you to give me the persuasive arguments. All I need for you to do is give me Mann Act cases where somebody had no priors and where the fact set was kind of similar. But I don't even need you to do that. Just give me Mann Act cases, okay? Now, there was supposed to be a joint letter between defense and prosecution. However, as the prosecution put in their new letter, Your Honor, the defense said they wanted to put their own letter. Now, why is this important? Because Judge Samaranian, if you guys don't know, has no minimum or maximum guidelines. What does that mean? They want Diddy to get time served, which is about like what, a year, right? Saying, oh my God, nobody's ever gotten prison time for this. However, the prosecution submitted a 4-page memo with lots of cases where, say it with me, people that had no priors in the Mann Act got years in jail, okay? Now, the prosecution submitted a letter and they shaded the defense. The defense clapped back and gave like all these legal bindings of cases. Now, some people are like, oh my God, this proves something, but it proves nothing because those cases, the defense was very clear to say the following. The prosecution shaded the defense by saying they're refusing to cooperate, saying that, listen, Your Honor, we wanted this to be a joint filing. The defense was all like, nobody goes to jail for the Mann convictions. But we have over almost 80 cases showing lots of people do. And Diddy needs to be on that lots of people list. Because of that, it seems like the defense got a little bit of attitude and they're like, oh, we'll file separately. You just go ahead and do this. However, the issue that the prosecution just destroyed is Diddy's team saying no one does real time for the Mann Act. The government flat out said, and we're going to read the response, stop the nonsense. There is a laundry list of cases who went to prison, and we're giving it to you right now, okay? The shade comes when the prosecution literally told the judge, and I said, we tried to work together, but Diddy's team refused. Now, this could look like they are hiding the ball. At best, it looks like they are uncooperative. At worst, it looks like they're being secretive. Now, listen, here's the risk. If the judge buys the government's narrative, okay, Diddy could be staring down real prison time, not a celebrity slap on the wrist, okay? Again, listen to what the prosecution actually had to say. They said the government respectfully submits this letter in response to the court's July 9th order, directing the parties to provide sentencing data to the court, this, that, and a third. Specifically, the court requested that the parties provide available data on sentences imposed where the primary or sole conviction was for a violation of the Mann Act, right? The base offense level under the sentencing guidelines was calculated under the criminal history when they said no priors, The court further directed the parties to identify cases that match these criteria by docket number and jurisdiction and instructed that no arguments should be included in the letter. The government has located several cases that satisfy the criteria. They go on to list about 80 cases, okay? They said after conferrals with the defense regarding a joint letter, which the judge did ask for, the defense counsel informed the government that they would be unable to exchange their case lists with the government in advance of filing and would be submitting their list directly to the court. Accordingly, the government is providing its cases in the letter rather than in a joint letter. Again, Diddy's team somehow feels like by not giving the government enough time to prepare, they won't have a response to the case law. Now, interesting enough, to me, it seems like that Diddy's side is kind of playing in the court's face because while they did maybe give, it looks like they gave about 180 cases, maybe a little or maybe at least 120 cases, and it looks like the prosecution only gave about 80 cases. Look at this disclaimer that Diddy's Tide says. Second, we provide a broader list of additional cases where the primary or sole conviction was for a violation of the Mann Act. We identified these cases by conducting a PACER criminal case report search in each district, searching for cases under the Mann Act in the citation field, which identifies dockets containing a Mann Act charge. Please note that for these cases, due to the limited information available on some dockets, differing from PACER practices across districts, and the sealed nature of many filings, it is not always possible to determine key information regarding these dockets, including the offense conduct and how the guidelines were applied. For the sake of completeness, however, we include these cases. So basically, you're saying that you're including a bunch of cases that cannot be verified to even be relevant to what you're arguing for Diddy. So why include it? Because while the government included 80 cases, they're including 120, 150. It's a lot of cases on the record, but they might not be relevant. Why would they do this? To make it look like to the blogs and the dirty, bum-ass, low-life Diddy supporters and all the fake journalist bloggers begging for a handout and a payout from Diddy. Right? Shout out to the ones already in jail. They are trying to create a narrative. Now, here's where things get a little sticky and where it looks like Diddy might have bit off more than he can chew. Nobody knows what Judge Aaron is going to rule. But let me just give you this for the hope that he will be able to throw the book at Diddy. All right? Let's get into this. The narrative that nobody ever gets sentenced to any significant Mann Act crimes with no priors is not true. And they prove that actually in the documentation, okay? They have shown that, one second. They have confirmed that if the judge is feeling lenient, okay, the minimum confirmed amount when he's looking at the averages is 18 months. However, that's the safest, lowest number that's still on record out of the cases that were submitted. The middle of the package, 24 to 60 months, is where many non-child Mann Act adult cases with organization and management elements land. Brenner, one of the cases cited, is 30 months, and Jordan is at 60 months. Now, the upper outcomes, 6 to 10 years, where it looks like the government has said they are going to actually put in a word. Get this. They show up where there's coercion or violence, multi-state management, obstruction, or other aggregates. That was the Hibbler case at 8 years is a very clean example. So the government's receipts say real prison time is a very normal thing. The receipts line up. We pulled the numbers out of the cases the government and the prosecution and the defense submitted. Southern District New York has about a 30-month average. That's the Emperor's Club. And 60 months. This was a Hollywood producer. Western New York hit a judgment with 18. Hit a judge with 18 months because the judge was involved in something, right? And a Texas case that included coercion was 8 years. So the idea that nobody does time for the Mann Act, that's just not real. Okay? Now, when it comes to the Second Circuit, which, to be honest with you, is the most important circuit, that's where things get a little tricky. The minimum confirmed is 7 months. That's the Hung P. Hee case. A common bad cluster is about 21 to 60 months. That's the Chin case got 21 months, Brenner got 30 months, Green got 30 months, and Jordan got 60 months. Now, there were outliers lower than 12 months, but that's rare in the Southern District of New York. Because the Eastern District of New York adult Mann Act cases, the best low number will be 7 to 12 months because, again, say it with me, as Diddy's team said, it's his first offense. However, the violence and obstruction of justice that Diddy pretty much admitted to, or his defense counsel admitted to, that bumps time up. While most of the above are business transport cases without on-record violence, adding violence or obstruction, which don't forget, the court did rule that Diddy did do obstruction of justice, and his bail was denied for obstruction of justice. Again, like the judge already flagged in multiple Diddy matters, it's exactly what moves outcomes from 21 to 30 month lane toward the 5-year or more lane. Jordan's 60 month is a clean Southern District of New York example of a management case hitting 5 years, even without graphic violence findings. So, what do? Then in New York, the receipts say it's normal to get prison time. Now, whether it is 21 months, 30 months, 60 months, right? On the books for Mann Act adults, right? The Western District of New York hit a judge with 18 months. The lowest that could be confirmed would be 7 months. However, violence changes the math. When violence and obstruction enters, the judge have cover both in court and in appeal to go well above the 21 to 30 month band width. And that's the whole point of the government's filing. You guys, listen, what does this mean? It means a lot, but most of it means that Diddy is in deep-ish. Judge Aaron has already confirmed, reamed him out, yelled at him for these mitigating factors. And no matter how much Brian's still in them, try to act like this is just something that will go away, it looks like Diddy will be held accountable. We, fingers crossed, justice for the victims and justice for the future victims. May they not become one if Judge Aaron does what he needs to do. Anyway, you guys, listen, I'm going to try to go live about this later to talk about it. If not, I'll make a follow-up video. But yeah, that closing argument that Mark Agnifilio did that got Diddy off might be the thing that sits him in jail for a good 5, 6, 7, maybe even 8 years. You guys, listen, let me know what you think.